Pageantry. No matter the age or marital status, contestants work incredibly hard to present their best self for the competition and challenges that lie ahead. Those who have dreamt about being in a pageant are fully aware of the goals that need to be accomplished to stand center stage on either a smaller state event or a grand stage viewed by millions around the world. They have committed to being coached on a myriad of subjects, including walking techniques, how and when to use well-chosen words, writing speeches, good eye contact, hair and makeup techniques, swimsuit, evening gown, and accessories. And let's not forget the hours, weeks, and months working on proper diet and exercise routines. Pageantry is not just a beauty contest. It's most assuredly not about the swimsuit and gowns, or a bunch of pretty girls. Military and frontline workers are those who have dedicated themselves to help others, lead by example, and have chosen to be pushed to their limits in their own career path, family, personal life, and self-growth. Military personnel are willing to risk it all for their country and freedom, while frontline workers face risks that are sometimes unseen, risking their health and safety on a different level. Positive, energetic, courageous, peaceful, and determined are words that Dr. Rajini Singh uses to describe herself, but that has not always been the case. Dr. Rajini Singh from India is a state and international title holder. Rajini is a devoted mother, wife, and doctor who tirelessly continues to serve her patients during the most difficult time at a hospital dedicated to COVID-19 patients. She reveals the struggle of being a female in India and how pageantry was not initially accepted by her hospital director. She strayed from her childhood dream and personal motto that there can be beauty with brains. With the support from her family, pageantry gave Dr. Singh a new lease on life, to be young again while she dedicates herself to a healthy living with a purpose. Beauty with brains.
I'm Dr. Ragini Singh, Mrs. Classic Universe 2019 and head of a blood transfusion department in Haryana, India. I was born in a joint family of 35 members back in 80s, which wasn't easy for a girls, where in India the female childs were considered to be a burden on the family and the society. My parents, my mother, she took a stand and fought against the society's stigma and imparted all her daughters with educations. Back in 90s, when my youngest sister landed up in diabetic coma due to diabetic ketoacidosis, that time a team of a doctor came into actions and worked selflessly day and night and gifted her a life. That very incident gave me a positive mindset and strong strength to choose this medical profession as my career. I have seen people have lost their jobs, they have a lot of negativity, they have a lot of fear in their mind, and On seeing that, when COVID was a pandemic and it was a new thing for everybody, even I got scared. So even I didn't wanted to step out from my home, being a doctor. But with my positive mindset and with one phrase which always keeps me going was, victory comes beyond your fear. With this phrase, that motivated me to step out of my house and help those people who are in the fear, who have lost their jobs, and to take care of those patients who have been suffering from COVID because they were mentally getting more affected than physically.
Thank you so much, Dr. Regini, for sharing that. I too have experienced a similar journey as these women. When I first decided to compete in a pageant in 2016, it was genuinely just to make friends. After moving to a new duty station, I thought, what a way to meet like-minded women. Turns out, it was a very unpopular decision for the Navy. I was instantly cyberbullied, told I was going to become a joke, warned that this would follow me in my career. As a 23-year-old Lieutenant JG, I decided not to listen. The famous quote says, "If not me, then who?" And I decided I wanted to pave that path for women. Pageantry became a huge, huge part of my growth, not just as a competitor, a person, but as a leader. I truly became a better naval officer because of the discipline, the organization, and the self-reflection and development that was needed in order to pursue a pageant title. Thankfully, after 4 years of competition, I became a better version of myself, what all pageant hopefuls should really strive for. Even though I never achieved the crown, I achieved what really is the best gift, confidence in myself. When you think of pageantry, modeling, the military, and figure skating, you probably wouldn't think of just one person that would undertake all of these challenges. Well, let me introduce you to Logan Marie, who has not only taken on these 4 roles, but has thrived in all of them. Logan describes herself as a driven, self-aware, unique, athletic, and empathetic, but this barely scratches the surface of who she is. A thoughtful people person who is looking to help others grow and be comfortable in their own skin. Logan didn't make these career choices so easily. As a student on campus, she survived a horrific attack and came out stronger on the other side. This born and bred Denver young woman has achieved so much in a short time, and she's only beginning her journey. Let's hear more from Logan.
So my name is Logan Torres, and I'm a Denver native, one of the few left, and I'm 24. I've lived here all my life, and I'm finishing college here, and hopefully one day raising a family here. Going to school on the CU Denver campus, I was stalked and assaulted by a man that I'd never met, didn't know. Unfortunately, it was me and other girls, and so that was quite a process, going through charges, going through court, having to face him again. And so when I came out on the other side of that, I was just super broken, and I needed change, and I didn't really know what purpose I felt like I had for a while. And to be honest with you, I hadn't really considered the military at first. I was open to it, but it was not my life aspirations. And people could tell you, I was known for being a teenage model in Denver and a pageant queen, and at that point a figure skater. And so military kind of seemed counterintuitive to everything else that I had started in my life. So basically up until that point in my life, I had built a different story. And so when a military recruiter called me, I was still in a dark place where I was coming out of what had happened. I had dropped out of school because I couldn't function. I couldn't go to school anymore. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like myself. So when he called me, I actually turned them away at first. I refused the interview. I didn't want to do any of they call it a pre-checklist to see if you're even eligible. And I remember hanging up the phone and thinking, I'm not sure if I actually believe that I am not interested. It was a very me looking at me moment. And so a couple weeks later, I called him back. I said, just for grins, I want to know if I'm even eligible. And we went through the checklist, and I was very eligible. I don't have any kind of history that would prevent me from enlisting, and I'm of good health and a good age to enlist. So after that, I took a lot of time to think about it. I went to Air Force recruiters, I went to Navy recruiters. I pretty much looked at every branch and what they would offer me so that I could see if it was going to be a better deal with any particular branch. Army was perfect, and they had the jobs that I would be interested in, particularly human resources, because I love people. And I kind of just had 3 months of chewing on it and processing and thinking, this is going to be a life change, is it worth it? And I prayed over it for a long time, and the day of my 21st birthday is the day that I announced to my family, said I'm enlisting in a week and I leave in 3 months. And that's exactly what I did, and I signed my contract, and instead of going to school the following semester, I went ahead and left for Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and did my 3 months of basic training and then started my AIT training.
Dr. Corinne Devon began her pageantry reign as a dare and has gone on to participate in 14 state, national, and international pageants. She was told no from an early age. She was told by a colleague counselor that she would never get into dental school, and by a male Navy colleague that she wouldn't do well in a pageant. What were once considered demeaning names, she now wears titles like Unicorn and Malibu Barbie as badges of honor. Born and raised in a military family, it's surprising that a military career was not at the top of Corinne's list. But we will find out how her path has taken her to now be a commander in the United States Navy. Corinne is always learning and continues to set and achieve goals in all aspects of life. She describes herself as driven, a leader, outgoing, thoughtful, and generous.
When I was a little girl, I was bullied a lot. I was always told no. I was called fur eyes. I had those thick bottle top glasses, you know, the ones that look like something out of a Coke bottle? That was me. And being very petite and small, I was always told, you can't do this because of your size. You can't do this because you're a girl. You can't do this because you're four eyes. And instead of letting that bother me, that kind of started a little bit of a fire in me where I'm like, wait a second, just because you say no, I can still find a way. And that drive, that relentlessness carried me out throughout life. So when I was in college, I was a communications major, and I was told that I would never get in dental school. I was actually told by a counselor that I was dreaming, that I should be focusing on getting my degree to get married and settle down. And yes, that was when I went to college. I graduated in 2003, and I remembered that I wanted more in life. I wanted more than just what other people felt that I was capable of. And 4 years later, I got into dental school. And once I did get into dental school, again, I hit the other set of challenges. I had test anxiety. And I had a professor who pulled me aside, Dr. Gillian Galbraith. She's also from, her husband served in the Royal Marine Corps, and she was in the Royal Navy in England. And she realized that I wasn't afraid of putting the hard work in, but I was sabotaging myself when I was taking exams. And she helped me work through that. And as a result, I graduated 4 years later with a scholarship from the Navy with honors. So for me, it's just working through those barriers of what people don't think you're capable of and showing that you don't have to give up who you are to be what you want to be. I entered into the military. I swore in May 12th, 2007, in my swimsuit, believe it or not, the day after I graduated from dental school. Yes, I was at a pool party and I found out I had to swear again after graduating as a lieutenant. And my first duty station was actually right here at Naval Base San Diego at 32nd Street, where I did a 1-year fellowship. And during that fellowship, I had a chance to work at every single base in San Diego. So my first stop was at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, where I was taking out wisdom teeth out of 18-year-old Marines. And they didn't believe I was the doctor. In fact, we had to blindfold them before I walked in so that they would actually believe I was the dentist. They just couldn't see me. From there, I worked with some wonderful mentors, an oral surgeon who told me I had the personality of an orthodontist, which I didn't know what that meant because I never had braces. I never had a desire. I actually just loved working with children. And when the opportunity came to deploy, I raised my hand and I went to Operation Iraqi Freedom during 2009 with the United States Marine Corps with the Navy. And from there, I really fell in love with orthodontics, but dentistry, and the fact I could build a rapport with my patients. It wasn't just getting them out of pain, but it was actually giving them the chance to smile, which many of them never felt they felt comfortable doing. And while I was on deployment in Iraq, I applied and was selected for residency program for orthodontics with the United States Navy. And that's what I did 2010 to 2012 in Texas. From there, I went to the Far East, to Japan, where I was tall at 5'3", kind of a flashlight, you could say, for the country. Instead of saying good morning, I would say Ohayo gozaimasu, genki desu ka, introduce my patients, and in turn, instead of being called doctor, I was called sensei. And that's something that's a very respectful thing in their world. I had the honor of coming back here to San Diego, and the residency program that I was part of, I actually now was an attendee. So here I was helping many dentists who were in their first year in the Navy learn how to be a dentist in the military as they prepare to go ships or operational overseas. I recently was stationed in Italy. I actually am just getting ready to move to Japan, and there, the cool thing about being stationed in Europe is that we work with the NATO forces. So that's working with about 20 different countries on my base and also training their family members.
I hear this story a lot, that people get flyers in the mail for the local pageant and give it a go, and that's exactly what I did. And I begged my parents, and I had no idea what I was doing. For 2 years straight, I didn't do well at all. I didn't even place. I had no experience, and honestly, I wasn't even sure if I was going to continue. And then my third pageant with a different system, I won as a teenage queen, and then continued to win after that moving forward. And so we decided to do pageants, and I grew a lot from it. It's a very different world. I'd actually started modeling way before I did pageantry, and so the world I experienced in modeling was a lot more, you're the canvas, you're for them to create their artwork, and yes, I enjoyed it, but it's not about you. While as pageantry, you got to create a canvas out of yourself, but it is also about you. They want to know all about you. And I learned how to talk and walk on a stage, and then eventually as a teenager, you can eventually do swimsuit, which is really, really challenging as a teenager because you have to be very comfortable with your body at an age where you're not encouraged typically to feel great about anything. I mean, hormones and school and stress. And so I pursued pageantry and I stuck at it, and now I'm actually in the Miss division, which is really intimidating.
And I was enjoying my motherhood. Dr. Pankaj, that time, when he enrolled my name into this beauty pageant, I went crazy and I said, are you crazy enough to enroll my name? Have you seen me? I'm 110 kg. How do you expect me to be enrolled in the pageant? Then he said, you forgot your dream, that you believe in beauty with brains. So Ragini, you have done enough for our family and for my son. Now it's your time to live your dream. So that time, when that ignited me to lose the weight from 110 kg to 53 kg back, and that too without any surgical support, I did it. So he always said, there is always a fire in you, Ragini. I've always seen that, and I have just ignited it. Since my childhood, I used to always believe in beauty with brains. And I went to my director to seek the permission for the same. She refused meeting me, saying that this profession is just a waste of time, money and energy. That reminded me that in India, till today, not all the professions are being equally valued and respected. So, to prove her wrong, I stretched my wings beyond my comfort zone of from being a doctor to a complete new journey of new platform where beauty meets brain, and it's been rewarded. Because I want the people should realize that every profession is equally respectable, equally valued, and it's all about what best you can give to your profession.
So I was never born and raised in pageantry. Even my own parents were not a fan of it. And how it all happened was when I was in my second year of dental school, I was 24 years old. I had a friend who had watched the Miss USA pageant, and the second runner-up was a dental student from North Carolina. And she's like, Corinne, you should do this. And before I even had a chance to answer, some jerk in my class who was listening to our conversation said, no, you can't, she couldn't do it. And I just turned around and said, watch me. And in my first year competing in the 2005 Miss Nevada USA pageant, I got first runner-up. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what an interview was. I didn't know what a swimsuit or an evening gown meant, like how you're supposed to walk on stage. But from that, I learned how to have better skills in interviewing. And from there, I started competing in 2006, 2007, and then I came in the Navy actually winning Miss Nevada, which coming in the military and winning the state pageant is kind of a bit of a contradiction because they don't expect women in the Navy to be starting around in ball gowns and stiletto heels. But I had a really supportive boss, a director of my program who thought it was fantastic and said this could be a great way for you to show the many sides of the Navy and how it's changing and evolving to something people can relate to. From there, I've had many success competing in both state, national, and international pageants, and I've been really blessed with the skills I've learned. And I would tell people who are interested in doing pageantry, they're like, wait a second, what's the connection, Corinne? I said, imagine you have to walk into a room of commanding officers and they tell you you've got 10 minutes to convince them. And I feel confident I can just do it in 1. And that is one of the great skills that pageantry has trained you for, answering tough, hard questions in a microphone, televised on a stage with lots of, not millions of people watching you, and you know how to answer things, not just with confidence, but with certainty.
Pageantry for me is very particular to using the resources of pageantry because it's not just about the dresses or the swimsuits. If you have a crown, you have a megaphone and a voice, and people don't really realize how big of a voice you actually have. And so I want to find the right system at the right time to use my skills and the things I've learned to help other people and to work with the causes I want to. And I just haven't found a system yet to do that as a miss, but we'll see. I have had a lot of modeling industry challenges in regards to trying to convey to people what I've learned. The hard part is just that when they didn't grow up in the industry, it's very difficult to convey to people the lessons you've learned about beauty. That's become easier as I've grown older and become more diverse because I feel like I have different platforms to speak on. Now I can show people from having been in the military that you can do both, and that being on stage doesn't mean that that's all you're good at, and it also doesn't mean that you have to be the typical woman or the stereotype we've developed from pageant queens in order to succeed. It's interesting that people think pageants in the military by nature are so different. Of course they are in regards to what you're doing, but the skills that are required for both are actually very, very similar, one of which is speaking clearly and knowing what you want to say. So in pageants, interview was my most horrifying part of competition. I remember my first 2 pageants, I completely bombed interview. I was so nervous.
One of the reasons I do pageantry is I like being able to push myself in areas that I don't know a lot about. So for example, the most recent pageant that I won, International Ms., it regarded us to put together a video and to really bump up our social media. I'm an orthodox. I put my hands in people's mouths. I'm not on a computer doing social media every day, but what I could see was the value behind it. Because being stationed overseas, where I don't get to see family or friends here, or being in another place, I can actually show people and make them feel comfortable coming to the dentist. So it's not something scary, but something that they actually feel comfortable doing with. And to me, doing social media portion of that pageant has now opened up the doors for me to do a lot more public speaking and been able to get my name out to people that may not know me or maybe have questions that I can now answer as a resource.
Pageantry has added more confidence to me. It has added a fame to me. So definitely this pageantry has added up to my personality, to my career, and what I feel that you should not only stick to your career, you should also stick to your hobbies along with your career, because stepping up into the pageant was one of my dreams. And definitely this pageant has added up in my career. It is like a icing on the cake for me. It has definitely added up on my personality, in my conversation. Now I'm more confident, I'm more disciplined, and definitely more in the shape because I really want to take care of myself. More importantly, I have relived my teenage life again. I don't feel that I'm growing old. I feel I'm still young and still energetic, and there's a lot more energy for me to go on in life and to be successful again. So definitely that fire has been ignited by my pageant.
The other thing too is just a confidence that comes from either failing a couple times and learning how to do it differently, which I learned in pageants, but also realizing how many things that I was good at and had not practiced simply because I gave it a try. I think there's a lot of things that people don't know they're good at because they've never tried it. And so in pageants, I remember the first time I walked in a gown, and it took a while, but then I became good at it and I liked it. And so the same attitude happened in basic training and in the military. They put you in new situations, especially as a new sergeant, learning how to lead teams of people. I didn't have the same trepidation as I might have because pageants taught me to just do it. Practice, do it, get used to it, and then find the things that I didn't realize I was good at and lean on those, and then develop the things that I can that I'm not as good at. So pageants carried into military, and then of course professional life, job interviews, and then modeling, just being quiet, calm, and cool and collected in so many different areas. pretty much pageants helped prepare me for life. And I know a lot of people have stereotypes about pageants, but again, you wouldn't know unless you tried.
Yes, I'm in the military, but guess what? I am in better shape for a pageant than I am for any military physical fitness test. And I like having a goal. I like having something where I can challenge. And every single pageant I do, I learn something. I meet a group of people who push me or who enlighten me or get me excited about something. And I think that's important in life. You know, people always talk about the growth mindset. And one of the things about having a true growth mindset is that you're working towards a goal, but as you make progress along the way, that's also like achieving your goal. And for me, that's what I really love to strive and achieve is, you know, that is my why behind doing that pageant. With each pageant I do, I realize that my reach can be a lot greater. It can be a lot more extensive. And so for me, since doing that first pageant, I realized that I can have much more of an impact, not just in my local community, but much more on a national and even international level. And I think that's something that even social media allows us to do that it wasn't as prevalent back in 2005. You know, I have walked into pageants in scrubs, and I go from scrubs to stilettos. And the thing that I tell people about pageantry is no one's good at everything when they walk in. It takes time, it takes energy. It's not like you just walk into the gym and you can bench press 200 pounds. That certainly doesn't happen for me, especially after being away from the gym for the few months I've been away from this year. But it's learning to do things properly with good technique. It's asking for help and keep asking until you get it. And for me, pageantry has trained me in all these other areas that maybe I wasn't exposed to, whether it's photography, videography, social media, learning how to interview in a way where I can communicate directly, sweet, clearly, non-apologetic, and still get my message across and be impactful. And for me, that is my why I can still continue to do it.
I tried for a long time to keep it under wraps because I wasn't sure how it was going to be received in the military to be a pageant queen, and it actually turned out the complete opposite of what I anticipated. I've been used for Army media, for recruiting people. I was used as a recruiter. Basically everything in my pageant and modeling background they've used, and that's actually something that I've enjoyed about the military is they take people from all walks of life and help you be a better you and use the skills that you already had on top of what they train you for. And so I did tell people that I was a pageant queen and a model eventually, and I got to use all those skills and make the Army better and make myself better, so it worked out really well.
My husband has fallen in love with me once again after I have started living my teenage life. So what is important, this I really want to tell people, love yourself, respect yourself, and be what you want to be. Automatically the people will follow you, will love you if you love yourself. If you ignore your dreams, your passion, your career, so definitely it's not the people who are ignoring you, you yourself are ignoring yourself. So what is, for me, I have relived my teenage life, and definitely one of my very big support was my husband, who have enrolled my name in this pageant, beauty pageant. And I think Dr. Pankaj has fallen in love with me again after seeing this changeover. Now he keep competing with me to keep himself fit, young, and equally energetic.
I'm only doing what I'm doing because I only know how to be me, and that's enough. Whether I was doing all of these things I'm doing or not, that's enough. So start there and be proud of who you are, and also just be willing to make the sacrifices. I had to give up so much to get to do these things, and it doesn't make me special or different. Really, it's just a matter of dedication. I didn't go to the college parties. I didn't drink. I didn't have crazy, I didn't have relationships and all this crazy stuff going on that people typically engage in at that age, and I had to be willing to sacrifice a lot. I also didn't go to the modeling parties. I kept to myself in a lot of those ways, and I spent time training, I spent time reading, I spent time praying and studying and keeping to what I wanted to do. So just understand that you are enough, but then also doing all of the things you want to do takes sacrifice and dedication, and you can't choose to not have the dedication and expect the reward. You're gonna have to sow whatever you reap, so reap it well.
So most people don't realize that in the military, only 18% of the entire armed forces is made up of female. Those numbers are actually the latest current statistics. And when you hit the rank of 05, which is a commander in the Navy, or a lieutenant colonel, if you're talking about the Army, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps, it's actually 0.29%. And so keeping that in perspective, you know, being often the only female where I work sometimes, and being one that puts effort into her appearance and is an international beauty queen, sometimes you're called a few names: unicorn, Malibu Barbie. And you know, it's fine. It used to bother me when I was younger, but actually now I take this as a compliment, because I guess that means I look pretty good as an 05. You know, I don't have the salty gray hair or speaking the words that I think are below people. I think we have a good enough education that we can have a more diverse language when we speak. But what I've learned, you know, as much as people say it, sometimes they're intimidated. And I've learned that when you're intimidated, when you're a force not to reckon with, people will try to find ways to kind of put you down. And sometimes those names are, but you know, I welcome them. If that's all you got, then bring it.
Thank you, Regini, Logan, Corinne, for sharing your stories. So we must continue to dream. We must work on our passions and talents. Remember, even with responsibility, family, bills, and long work days, we must continue to be who we are meant to be and fulfill our destiny. The key to having it all is to believe you can, to understand your purpose, and to set into motion those beautiful dreams of yours.